Welcome, everybody, to another live stream for Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. My name is John Anderson. I am the Director of Media for NFOA, and I've got a few guests with me tonight. Our president, Trish Harold, is not available tonight. She had a last-minute thing come up, and she is unable to join us. So she will not be here with us, but those of you that are the type to pray, just pray that everything comes out, and that's all I know, so I can't share any more than that. But Trish is fine, her family's fine, but something else came up, so we'll let that one be where it is. So we came here tonight. We just wanted to recap the diversity shoot that just happened at Athena Arms in Bellevue. While it's still fresh in our minds and we wanted everybody to get a chance to kind of weigh in, we may have another one of our volunteer firearms instructors popping in yet tonight. But we're going to keep going here and get this started with the guests that we have got. So real quick out there, I'm going to give just a little bit more intro. I just want the notification that we went live just to get out to a few people, so that we get a few more watching. Looks like we've got a few going right now. 2 on the YouTube side, 17 on Facebook. Only 1 comment. So if you're watching live, this is so much better than a TV program or a radio program because you get a chance to actually interact. So in the live chat on Facebook or YouTube, either way, you can drop those comments. We can actually see them if they are if they pertain to the discussion that we're having. We can actually put them up on the screen in real time, and we can talk about your question or your comment. So please let those comments flow. Let the live chat get lively out there. Lively live chat. I think that's a good way to say it. So either on the YouTube or on the Facebook side, either way. It looks like we've got a couple people out there already commenting. John Petrolino on Facebook says, "Good evening, Patriots." And over on the YouTube side, Pat Hirsch says, "Howdy all." So hey, John. Hey, Pat. All right. So real quick, let me introduce the guests that we do have here. If you're watching this it's my left, but if you're looking, it's to the right of me in the top right of the screen. We have the OG, the founder of Diversity Shoot, who came in all the way from New Jersey just to help us out, get us started, and send us on our path for diversity shoots here in Nebraska. So we've got Tony Simon from The Second Is For Everyone and diversityshoot.com. How are you, sir? I think you're muted. Is your mic muted? You're looking good on this side, but we cannot hear you.
How about that?
That's better.
I sound much more intelligent muted.
Same.
Hey, man, it was great going out there. I was glad to be a part of it. Help you launch diversity shoots out there. It's a heck of a lot of opportunity. And I was glad to be at the initial one. Too bad some of you guys weren't, because it was awesome.
Yeah, you guys missed out. Those of you that weren't there, why the heck weren't you there? It was amazing. And then also on the lower level of the screen, just front and center, it looks like, really, we've got who we are affectionately going to dub Other Tony, since we've got 2 Tonys in the house tonight. So we've also got Tony Cannon from the One Security Solutions, and Tony was one of our volunteer instructors who was in on the range. If you did attend the event and you were there in the afternoon, then I'm sure you got to meet Tony in there on the range. So Other Tony, and I think you're muted too, but how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here, man. This is something new. I never did this before, so just here to, share my insight and my experience, and overall everything was pretty cool, man. Looking forward to doing future stuff in general.
Absolutely. And we were very, very grateful to have you and all of the other instructors there who volunteered your time to come and help us out. So all right. We've got a few comments, a few questions out there. Larry, I do see your question about the 2A sanctuary. We're not there yet. Maybe if we get some time after we recap the diversity shoot, we will visit some other topics, but I'm not brushing you off, Larry. We're just gonna push that to the back burner for now, so we can get our recap done. Joe and Jeff are out there on Facebook. Larry's there, of course. Joe said that he thought you'd have been taller in person. Now, he didn't differentiate if it's Tony or other Tony, so I'm guessing probably Tony Simon he meant, but
I shrink as I get older.
I think we all do. All right, and then out there on YouTube, so far Pat is the only commenter. So I see that it looks like there's only 2 watching on YouTube. So if you do us a favor, if you would, go ahead and share this link. And I never remember to say this when we start these out. Hit the like, if you would, the thumbs up on YouTube or the like on Facebook, and then go ahead and share the link, share the post. Let's get everybody involved. Let's make this a great discussion. So, all right. Real quick here, the first thing I want to get into, and we want to hear from both of you, of course. Overall impression, and I know Tony Simon, I think that you and I had discussed this earlier. We kind of went into it not exactly knowing what to expect and trying not to have expectations, but be that as it may, I know you're still human, so I know that you had a few expectations, or you were maybe thinking you knew what to expect. So before the event happened, what was your impression? What were your expectations? And then what were your hopes for the event before it started?
All right, my expectation was between the shadow banning with social media and trying to get the word out, you don't know what response you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, dude, we have 10 people show up for an all-day event. I'm going to make it the most awesome all-day 10-person event we can do. Right. I mean, that was just it. I'm going to turn this up to an 11, and we're just going to just rock out. And the day totally exceeded my expectations. It all came together really well. I thought maybe there would be lulls or like a downtime where people go, what do we do now? You know what I mean? But no, it was always stuff going on. The range, the volunteers, your organization, NRA, ILA, all made it happen, made it flow. Everyone was speaking, moving around and talking to people. And I think everyone was engaged all day long. I really didn't feel it slowed down until the end of the day, really.
I know that I barely slowed down until the end of the day. And if I thought that I was busy, my gosh, those of you that were at the event, you know this. Our president, Trish Harold, she was amazing. She was a whirlwind. And it's good that she's such an extrovert and she feeds off of other people's positive energy, because I know that you that attended the event, you kept her going at 110% all day long. And if it wasn't for you, I think she would have run out of steam way earlier in the day. But she was just amazing in the range and out of the range, and kind of heading everything up from both sides of the building. Better than I ever could have hoped to do had she not been there. So yeah, it was really, it was a great thing to be able to witness. Tony Cannon, I know that you are fairly, I don't want to say inexperienced. You're kind of new to the world of being an instructor, if I'm not mistaken. And you're getting into the instruction and some other stuff. So what did you have in your mind before you came out as far as what kind of event we were having?
I kind of honestly didn't really know a lot about it. Trish had talked to me about it. Was like, hey, I'm having this event coming up. You know, you're able to volunteer, just basically shedding some insight on potential gun owners or people that's not really informed or know anything about firearms. We just want to make them comfortable, kind of get them used to, shooting and the fundamentals of firearms and just overall the safety and, answering questions and stuff. So to me, it was I seen it as an opportunity, man, just to, just an opportunity just to talk to people, to network, to see what people think about guns or the yays and the nays, and just the opportunity just to learn in general, I was excited. So going into it, I really didn't have any expectations. I went with a checklist like, hey, I'm looking to do this, that, and the third, and meet people and learn about guns and just overall the experience. I had a wonderful time. You know, I brought my son. He had a great time, man. You know, he was impressing a lot of people, man. He shoots better than me, you know, and I'm supposed to be the instructor. So, I mean, just for him to go out and be able to shoot and to have fun, and just that one-on-one to be able to teach him and teach other individuals too about just, you know, the dynamics of being safe. And you know, most people, you know, are kind of leery about guns because they don't know how they work, or they, you know, they've been taught this or been shown this. And just to be able to break down and take a minute to explain and show them how things work, you know, just the energy level of everything, man. I just enjoy it overall, man. Looking forward to doing more stuff in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I kind of was the same way. I tried to not let myself have a lot of expectations ahead of time. I thought, you know what, we've got one or two people that had kind of signed up early on for some tickets, and there wasn't a big push to sign up until later on, right before the event. And we were very, very thankful that there was that push, of course. But I went down to Omaha. And for those of you that aren't aware, I live in Norfolk, so I went down to Omaha just hoping that we had fun. Those of us that did come, if we had just one or two students all day long, it was still going to be a success because it was a chance to network, to get to know some like-minded people, both at Athena Arms and then from our organization, volunteers for NFOA, a few folks that I've talked to before but never had a chance to actually meet and shake hands with. So it was good to be able to do that, and then meet a whole bunch of folks that I didn't know before. So that was really, really cool too. And those of you that were at the event, two things. First of all, if you're out there watching and you were there, please drop some comments here in the live chat. And if you're watching this later on the replay, please go ahead and comment down below and just let us know kind of what your impressions were. We will be sending out a survey to those attendees and getting your impressions. But for those of you, maybe you didn't sign up to do the shooting part and you just came out to see how everything was working and meet a few people, I want to know your opinions too. And then the other thing I want to tell those of you that were there, I think I still have about 13 or 14 conversations that we started that I never finished, because I would start talking to somebody and then I would start talking to somebody else. And I tried to have multiple conversations at once, and I'm not good at that. So for anybody who we were having a conversation and we didn't get to wrap it up, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. We were so busy there for a while. We had so many bodies coming and going, and some were here for us. Some were just normal Athena Arms patrons that were there to shop or to get some range time. It was a busy place. It really was all day. So, so Tony, you kind of gave a little bit of your opinion for how things actually turned out. So what I want to do real quick is we're not going to really dwell on anything real negative. We're going to do some constructive, maybe some constructive critiquing here in a bit, but let's focus on the positive. What were the high points of your day, Tony Simon?
Well, let's start off with the range itself, because that's very important.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. You have to have a clean, welcoming, well-lit range that, just to be honest, doesn't skeeve people out. If you've been shooting for a while, or if you come from the old school mentality, a range was pretty much sometimes, some places, a hole in the wall, with trashed bathrooms, with dark interiors, with the grumpy old unhelpful people, and very few firearms that weren't like wood and steel. You know what I mean? Like, it was just not an open-minded place. This place was really a nice looking building, lots of daylight coming in, well designed. The ladies that worked there were walking around and not dressed in the stereotypical 501 catalog. They looked like young women of the age that they were, and they were still strapped, and they had firearms that make sense. They didn't have little pink revolvers. They had like Glock 43s. They had some cool gear, and they were cool guns. So yeah, the range itself impressed me. that was awesome. So I'm like, all right, cool. We're firing on cylinders, just pulling into the parking lot. I'm like, all right, we're good. All right, we got that down. Went to the restroom. It was clean and welcoming. Some ranges looks like a bad truck stop. It really does. It looks like one of those truck stop exits. You're like, you know what? I'll just wait. So that was cool. And then just meeting the people, the family that came up from Kansas City was awesome because the son had DM'd me and asked me if it was all right if he brought his mom. I didn't know the distances involved. I didn't know the dude did a 3.5-hour drive one way with his family.
Mm-hmm. And it was Topeka, not Kansas City, which is even
Wow.
farther.
Really?
Topeka's a little farther away, I believe, especially if you come up I-29. So yeah, they traveled.
Yeah, so I didn't even take that into effect, but that was awesome. The kids showing up were great. I think that was the best. Just young people, new generation, before they can get propagandized by the media and their teachers and society in general. You introduce them to firearm in a safe, fun way.
Mm-hmm.
You put people behind them and let them shoot. That was awesome. I don't know. They just kept getting better and better, especially when they brought out the food. Because by the time Defense Dad got on the grill and had things popping, I was like, yo, I think I'm hungry. But really what impressed me all day was Trish. Trish ran around there. I swear, I thought I saw her on the range, talking behind the counter and smoking a cigarette outside at the same time. Like, how did that? Wait a minute. What the? Woman was all over the place. I was trying to, be a social butterfly and talk to different people and speak to them. I went on the range, but the range was handled by volunteers, so I didn't have to jump in there. That was the only thing I didn't do that I normally do at a diversity shoot, because I try to keep the conversation going. And then that was done well. I don't think anyone was bored. And
I think Tony just froze up there. We'll give it just a second to see if he unfreezes.
internet go down?
There you go. I see you again.
Okay, that was weird. I met a lot of awesome people, and the people are the thing that I like the most.
Sure. All right. So Tony Cannon, I know that you came in later in the day. You weren't there early in the morning with us, but you were still there for a big chunk of the day. So let's go over what were the high points for you when you got there, and then throughout your time that you were volunteering.
Well, just to kind of piggyback off what the other Tony was saying, man, it was just overall welcoming, man. I was kind of not necessarily leery, but I kind of didn't know. So it was kind of a shot in the dark, like, hey, I'm gonna bring my son, bring my family, and just see where this goes and where we're going with this. We kind of really didn't have a roadmap. I really didn't have an idea of how I wanted to do it, but I'm like, hey, this is a good opportunity, a family event to introduce your family to, safety, firearms. And I was very impressed with just the overall welcoming, like I said, like you were saying, the young ladies who walking around with modern guns. They, that kind of impressed me. Like, hey, chicks with guns and skirts, and you got food, hot dogs and pop, like you can't beat that, man. It was, it was like a backyard picnic, but in a professional manner, man. And like I said, I had fun and everything was clean and neat, and the overall presentation was good and was great. And when I got there, like I said, Trish was welcoming, like, hey, I'm like, what do I do? What do you need me to do? She's like, just hang out, have fun, greet people, shake hands, and just have a good time. And I really enjoyed it, So, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, it was my first diversity shoot. Really, like I said, I have no expectations, just have fun, and overall, I give it a 10.
And that's really what we were hoping for those who attended as well, was to come out and have fun, right? And find out that the diversity shoot accomplishes so many different things for so many different people. You might have been raised being told that because of who you are or what you look like or the part of the world that you live in, maybe you got told that, hey, if you are around guns and if you have a gun, then people are going to think bad things about you just for having it. You might have never been around guns your whole life and just never understood why anybody wants them. You might have decided later on in life. We had several, what is the correct term here. We had several folks come out who were more experienced at life and more seasoned. That weren't, they weren't the younger generation. They were an older generation. They came out, and some of those folks had never touched a firearm before. And yet they decided that it's never too late to learn. They decided it's never too late to try something new and maybe overcome some fears. And I think the high point for me was later on in the day, one of the things that Trish said that she had seen several times at that point in the day over on the range. She had seen fear and anxiety and hesitation give way to a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of empowerment, even joy on the faces of some of the people who had never touched a firearm before or had barely touched a firearm before. It was really, really a neat thing. And I think that was my high point, was just knowing how many different lives got touched just because we had awesome people that decided to give us their time and their experience and their know-how and pass that along to somebody new. So I think that was my high point of the whole day, along with meeting people, getting to know some of you who I know from this Facebook page and this YouTube channel, and then also on my own as well, my private stuff that I do. I had several people that I was able to meet again that knew who I was, and I didn't know them very well, but I knew the name. We have Alyssa out there, who was our U.S. Law Shield rep, who was on hand for the day. And Alyssa says, great conversations with you guys. Alyssa, if you're still watching and if you'd like to come in and talk with us, let me know. I will get you a link. So just send a private message to Nebraska Firearms Owners Association on Facebook if you want to jump in the room here, and I'll get you a link to get in here with us so you can give some feedback too from your day. So
Alyssa was awesome. She had her family out, met her husband, cool dude, even if he is in Air Force. But
oh, shots fired.
Oh no, man, we had a great time, man, and she was awesome. I'm glad she was there because I think it's important to have that aspect of firearms ownership represented at diversity shoot also, because people may not know, even firearms owners may not know what U.S. Law Shield is or what they do or how they can help you. So it's important to have a rep like that, just representing, letting you know there are options out there when either thing goes sideways, or even you just have a question and you want an expert to answer. Being a part of U.S. Law Shield gives you access to a lawyer. And you can ask those questions without having to pay a fee outside of your membership. So I think that's great. So, and she was really friendly. She was outgoing, and she was talking to a lot of people too. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and Alyssa was set up there right inside the door, so she was kind of the first contact with most of the people coming in the door. And Alyssa, I'm thankful that you were there to kind of direct traffic a little bit for the folks that were coming in the door, and those that were there for Athena Arms, and they were there to shop or they were there for some range time. They pretty much knew where they were going, but the people that came in that hadn't been there and weren't really sure what they were doing or where they were going, Alyssa, again, just thank you for being there to point everybody over towards the table where my wife was sitting to get people signed in there. Joe Goebel out there on the Facebook side is making some comments, and Joe was there. He says, Big Tony was so welcoming, very informative, great personality. Tony C was a little quiet, kind of like a deer in the headlight look. He's just kidding. Very polite, great personality, and really hope to see you more, Tony Cannon, at more of the functions, because Joe thinks you have a lot to offer. So, and then El Esco over on Facebook is saying, man, I wish I would have known about this event. My mistake for catching it. When will you gents be throwing another one? Well, unfortunately, the next one, we're not going to have Tony Simon with us. Dude, you are always welcome you are always going to be welcome to come out and hang out with us, and you're welcome at my fire anytime. For those of you who are not aware of this, Tony and I have been online friends for a couple years now, but we never actually got to meet each other and shake hands until this weekend too. So it was great to be able to meet you and get to know you a little bit better in person. But the thing is, it's very expensive to travel from New Jersey to Nebraska. And sometimes it can be a little, what do you want to say? Travel can be fun, can't it? When you're expecting a layover in Minneapolis and then all of a sudden things change and you're in Atlanta instead. But the important thing was we got Tony here and we got him home and he's still in one piece, none the worse for the wear. To answer your question, El Esco, to be determined. Stay tuned. We definitely want to do this again. There's been some talk about doing an annual event. I would love it to be more often than annual. I think that people forget about it if we wait too long. But here's the thing: is sometimes we need a little help. And I'm just going to get into this real quick. And a lot of people aren't even aware there is a Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. Those of you who do know who we are, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit, I guess, as it were, and just kind of give you an insight into the inner workings. NFOA is not a where, it's not even a what, it's a who, right? We don't have a building, we don't have a location. It's what grassroots means. It's a whole bunch of people that get together and make stuff happen because we're a team, we're neighbors. And in Nebraska, that still means something. Tony grew up in the country in Virginia. And from talking to Tony, I know that the word neighbor here means the same as it does where Tony grew up. So I know you get that too. But when we come together, we can get an amazing amount of stuff done here in Nebraska. We saw that a couple years ago with the flooding, right? We see it all the time when somebody gets injured in the rural communities and the rest of the community turns out with food and helping with fencing or farming or whatever it is, haying. So I love being in Nebraska. Here's the thing: I need your help now, neighbors, to help this take off, to make this happen. There are only 7 of us on the board, and we all have day jobs. In fact, most of us do more than one thing. Trish does. I don't even know how she figures out from one day to the next where she's supposed to be and when she's supposed to get there. But I've got a job and a half, plus all the stuff that I like to do to feed my online hobbies as well. And so to have another diversity shoot, we're going to need more help. We're going to need some instructors to volunteer again, of course. We're going to need a range to volunteer, whether it's Athena or anybody else that wants to volunteer their space to have this happen as well. We're going to need a lot of publicity and then a whole lot of people just talking about it. Like Tony had mentioned earlier when we first started due to shadow banning, I mean, sometimes we put this stuff up on Facebook, and unless we pay money to boost it and get it in front of people, it doesn't always go anywhere. Sometimes we put these out on the YouTube side. And those of you watching on Facebook, if you haven't gone over to our YouTube channel, please do so. It's just Nebraska Firearms Owners Association. And if you're there on the page, you'll see that this live chat's going right now. And if you're there after the fact, then you'll see that this live chat is there in the playlist for the Diversity Shoot playlist there. So you'll know you're on the right page, but please go and subscribe to that as well. It's just another way that we can get this info out to people. But the biggest thing is when this stuff happens, we need you to respond to the emails when they go out, or the Facebook posts, or the YouTube videos, whatever we have. We need to get this word out across Nebraska. I don't want people saying, "Oh man, I didn't know about it. I didn't hear about it." It's to be expected. Especially it was the first time. It was brand new. It was the only one we've done, right? But Tony Simon, you and I were talking, and I said, I'm going to be happy when we get that first question. We've already got it now. When's the next one? So I'm going to call it a win, because that's when I said that's when I'll know that we were a success, when we get that question. When's the next one? So thank you, El Esco, for making my night. All right. So, Pat Hirsch over on YouTube's asking a lot of great questions. I think we're kind of covering some of that stuff as we go along here. Tony R out on Facebook, Tony Rasmussen. I see your question. I've got a couple questions that we're going to move to the end, so that we can cover the diversity shoot part up front, and then we'll get to some other stuff if we have time here to kind of cover some of that. So Pat has one question though, as far as the first time event goes. How did it go? Which we did talk about that. Will the diversity shoot be back? That's just it. So we're going to take this idea, we're going to run with it, we're going to tweak it, mold it, make it our own, right? We're not going to use the 2A4E symbol. We're not going to use probably even diversity shoot. We'll maybe come up with a better a name so that we don't steal any of Tony Simon's thunder. But the thing is, I fully intend to make it happen. I just can't do it alone. And I'm 2.5 hours away from Bellevue, especially. So it's really hard for me to organize something like that from up here.
It takes a lot. I'm sorry. It takes a lot. So I've been doing this since 2015. I started up then. And you need the range 100%. You need a range that's dedicated to not only host the event, but host the event multiple times and also promote the event. That's a need, a necessity, because they have to reach the people that come to them regularly. Also, you have to get other ranges in the area to promote it, even if it's not at their range, and that gets weird because of competition, not understanding that this is about the politics of the Second Amendment and not by bringing more butts to someone else's range. This is political also. You also need other Second Amendment groups like NRAILA. I don't know if there are other 2A groups in Nebraska, but everybody has to have this on their lips. The word of mouth is what made it happen. My very first event, 4 people showed up. And Anthony Calandra, the owner of the range, says, well, more people will come next time, and the next time, and the next time, and you're going to host them here. And he had his range open to me for since 2015. And that's what it takes. It takes more than one person just trying to make this move. It takes a lot of people believing in the mission and in the mission to grow in the firearms community. You're going to have to talk about it. All peoples are going to have to talk about it in their community and go, yeah, I went there and I felt welcome. African American, Asian American, whatever you identify as, you're going to go, I felt welcome there. You need to come this time. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to make it work. And if you're a firearms instructor with certifications, I mean, that's not what I asked for, but you want someone really competent with firearms and also the ability to talk to a new shooter and make them at ease in the port. We need volunteers. You need to show up with your stuff. You need to commit and let them know. Now, here's the rough part about buying tickets and committing. Man, I'm 6 years in and I can't figure out how to get people to buy tickets more than the day before or the day of an event. It's like you can prepare, but you just don't know. My last event, I was surprised. I was like, I think 5 people are coming. And then between noon and 6, another 20 people bought tickets. And I'm like, oh, where did they come from? So that's what happens. But you got to get word out. You got to get the volunteers ahead of time. You got to get the range on board, and you got to get word of mouth. And sadly, it takes time in. And sometimes you're going to have to build up from the first event to the next event. There's ebbs and flows depending on the season. It is what it is. You're going to have every one of them a win. Every one of them's going to be a win if one person shows up. I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
Absolutely. Nope, that's very, very true. I see another comment out there on the YouTube side. Pat Hirsch wants to know, do we need firearms to use next year? Well, again, I'm hoping it's not next year. I'm hoping that we have it before then. But whenever we do it, I'm going to say that we're not going to turn it down. If anybody shows up and you bring your firearms, we may or may not use them in a bay. But here's the thing is if you bring it and we end up not using it, there's not a whole lot of harm there. But if we don't have enough firearms, then everybody suffers because the lines are longer waiting on the lanes that we do have firearms. So we had 5 lanes open to us that Athena donated to us, and we had some handguns, we had some 22 caliber handguns, we had some centerfire handguns, we had a couple 22 caliber rifles, and then there was even an AR-15 that people got to shoot. Now, it was a great smorgasbord of firearms, but I know one thing, and this is constructive critique, right? We're not being negative here, but even I get bothered when I'm in an indoor range and there's somebody else in that bay with a centerfire rifle, even if it's an AR-15 or an SKS or AK pattern in 7.62 by 39. I think next time we may dispense with the centerfire rifle if it's an indoor event. If we have an event on an outdoor range, then I definitely think that giving people a chance to shoot that rifle that's in the news all the time, that the media paints to be such a terrible thing, that it blows things up when it shoots them. What is cool is being on the lane right next to the AR-15. And I was even in there showing people how to shoot the Ruger 1022 rifle. And as they're putting 22 caliber sized holes in a target on our lane, right next to them is an AR-15 chambered in 5.56 NATO that is putting the exact same size holes in that paper. And it was neat to be able to show people who were new to the firearms, but they watched the news when we could show them that, look, these have the same exact size holes that go through the paper. Yes, one has more energy. It's faster, right? We know that. But this is not something that is a bazooka that shoots 30 rounds before it runs dry. Okay. It was neat to be able to show people that, yeah, indoors, maybe not optimal, but the gun itself, not scary. We had brand new shooters that were firing that rifle. And even though it took some getting used to with the muzzle blast, the concussion indoors, every one of them stepped away smiling. And it was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I actually had to deal with that.
I know my son did.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, man. So your son had a good time?
Go ahead and fill us in there, Tony Cannon. Your son was there, and I know he's got some experience shooting. But what was your overall take from the experience that the guests had on the range?
To me, like I said, just the overall welcoming, man. Like you said, it was a lot of first-time shooters. My son has a little bit of experience with shooting, mostly handguns, but for him to, get excited and see the smile on his face shooting an AR, man, it's like, like, oh man, I shot an AR. I'm like, hey, you be careful with that thing. I don't even know how to shoot an AR, but he handled it very well, man. Just like you said, just the overall experience and the satisfaction of, hey, I shot an AR that's, that's frowned upon, that's this big weapon of mass destruction, but he handled it in a safe manner in a way. And it's like, hey, he was able to come away like, hey, I actually shot that gun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually enjoyed the experience of shooting, So to me, like I said, that was a win overall to me. And I think a lot of people felt the same way, man. Just, they was kind of nervous, but just to be able to stand behind them and coach them and show them the proper way to hold it, to shoot it, to embrace the recoil of it, stuff like that. Because overall it's a big gun and you're naturally scared, like, hey, this is big, but the adrenaline, like, hey, I'm scared to shoot it, but I want to shoot it. And shooting, and it's like, man, that was fun. I'm gonna do it again, So
right. It's kind of like when you it's kind of like if you get on a roller coaster and you're climbing up that hill, right? And it's climbing and you're like, oh man, it's getting scarier. It's kind of scary. I know I'm safe, but there's just that thrill that maybe I'm not safe, but I know I'm safe, but I'm doing something that's kind of dangerous. And then you get over that hill and that roller coaster takes off and goes on that drop, and it's just such a rush, right? And I think that's the experience that a lot of our new shooters had, and even some of the shooters that just didn't have a lot of experience and wanted wanted instruction in a safe and controlled and responsible environment. The person that was there, and we had one shooter in the lane with an instructor, or a volunteer, because I did show a few people how to fire the rifle, and I'm not a certified instructor, but I've shown more than one person in my lifetime how to shoot it. And so I think that it was good. I loved that we had enough volunteers. Thank you, instructors, all of you who came out, so that we could have one person for each lane, and we had that one-on-one, not only instruction, but we were the safety net, right? We were the seat belt, or the little bar that comes down on the roller coaster. I mean, we were the part there that made it not so scary that it wasn't doable. And so it was good to have our instructors there, right there beside people, coaching them and encouraging them and letting them know, hey, it takes a lot of bravery for some folks to walk into a gun range and pick up a firearm and then learn how to manipulate it, learn how to fire it, and just get that experience that they'd never done such a thing before. Those of us that have been shooting a long time, I mean, I can't even remember that feeling, because I was so little the first time I was sitting on my dad's lap and he held the rifle and let me pull the trigger, right? I mean, again, it was safe, responsible, and controlled, but I was tiny. And so, and believe me, folks, at one point I was tiny. It's been a long time. but here's the thing is, I've been shooting so long that I don't always appreciate what it's like to be new into this. A lot of people were, they weren't sure what to expect, I know, but they walked out of that range. They were smiling, they were laughing. And again, I know that every one of them felt a sense of accomplishment and even a sense of empowerment that wasn't there when they came in. And all of that trepidation was just gone. And the folks that were there, I mean, we had one gentleman that was there for our first session in the morning, and I'm pretty sure he was still there at 3 or 4 o'clock. He hung out, he talked to everybody, he met a lot of people, had a lot of great conversations, and I had some great conversations with him. I had the honor of showing him how to shoot the 10/22 rifle when I was in there in the morning. He told me that he had bought a few firearms earlier in the year, or earlier, I think it was even last year, when people had kind of lost their minds, right? And a lot of folks started buying up firearms, but he hadn't taken them out, and he wasn't exactly sure. He'd done some hunting, but not a lot of shooting with any kind of like an AR-15. And I don't know what he bought for sure. I didn't ask him, but I know that he came out to get some experience, again, with an instructor there, making sure that he knew what he needed to know. So now he can take his personal firearms. He can go back to whatever range he chooses to go to, and he's going to know what to do. And he's going to know that even if he doesn't know what to do, there's somebody to help him, and he's going to know that he can do it. And that's the coolest part. So that was awesome. I think we've kind of recapped about everything we can. Again, we had US Law Shield on hand, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Alyssa to know if she gained any clients from the event, but we hope that she did. Being there was good for her and worth setting up her table. We also had a lawyer there, and he gave a presentation 2 different times in the afternoon, and then had Q&A. And that was awesome. And I just want to thank Dick Clark for coming over from Lincoln. Dick Clark Law is his law practice. No, it wasn't a rockin' New Year's Eve, Tony. I know.
Alyssa's told me, yeah, Dick Clark is coming. I looked at her like, what?
No, anyone who's been around NFOA for very long has heard the name Dick Clark, because he's been a volunteer for a long time. He's been on the board of directors in the past, and he really helps us out. He's got his own law practice. He is a lawyer on hand for US Law Shield as well. So if you're a US Law Shield member, and you forbid you get into trouble, but even if you just need some legal advice and you call, then he'll get that message, and he'll be the one normally to give you a call back in the Omaha, Lincoln area. But it was great to have Dick there to not only give a little bit of a presentation on self-defense law as it pertains specifically to Nebraska, because we've got, every state, and even within some states, every county or every municipality have unique laws that you need to know, right? Now, some of those are built into the concealed carry course if you take that class. But again, I mean, that's an overwhelming day, especially for new people, new to the gun world, new to the self-defense with a firearm world. And so it was a good recap. It was great to have him there for the Q&A that came afterwards. Some people showed up not to shoot, just to be able to get a chance to visit with Dick about firearm laws and self-defense laws here in Nebraska. And so that was another great thing that we were able to provide because of one of our members volunteered his time to do it. So I want to make sure that we mention that. Tony, Simon, you had said also we had NRA ILA has a local representative. He's out of Kansas City, and he comes to Nebraska at least once a month, sometimes more if there are events like this one that he knows about. But his name is Kelvin Curtis, and we were very, very grateful to have Kelvin there with us as well. And I tell you what, for those of you that hear NRA ILA and the hair on the back of your neck comes up, when you start to get a little bristly about it, we can have that conversation sometime when I'm not operating in an NFOA capacity. But as an NFOA member, board member, let me tell you this, NRA does some great things. Without them, we could not have had this event, because without them, Athena would not have the insurance that they have in order to operate. So keep that in mind. Yes, we can talk about some stuff, right? We won't do it here. We can have those conversations. Kelvin will have that conversation with you. But when you talk about the true purpose of what the NRA does, not the lobbying side, but the education side, the insurance side. I mean, a gun range in this country, I don't think there's any other organization besides them that can give the insurance that is required to have a gun range open to the public. So keep that in mind too. But having Kelvin there and to actually show up, right? That's worth something right there, folks. He was there. He shows up, and I've met him at several events. And Kelvin will come to Nebraska and answer questions and have those conversations and talk to folks. He's very approachable, very easy guy to talk to, super friendly guy. I can't say enough good things about Kelvin either. So very, very grateful to have him along. Have I left anybody out? Who have I forgotten?
No, Kelvin was a great dude. I was busting his chops because I introduced him. It was great speakers there. I mean, it really was. I mean, Trish opened up and she was like, "I'll turn it over to Tony." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks a lot, Trish." She just burned the house down, and she was like, "Hey, here are the keys." And I did my thing, and I spoke to people. I did my usual diversity shoot 2A 4E thing, and then I turned it over to Kelvin when I introduced him, and he just burned the place down too. I'm like, "Thanks a lot, Malcolm X Jr. Just for lighting a fire," and he was really passionate about it, and that's what's needed. Passion. That's what makes this thing roll. It really is. You can't talk about statistics. That's not really going to do it for anyone. But talking about how the Second Amendment and the human right of self-defense applies to you and why it was written, that's where the passion comes from. When you talk about how it applies to you, your life, and your family, guns are one thing, but the ability to defend yourself against anybody threatening you and yours, sorry, that's on the base animal level of existence. And we need that right. We have to fight for that right. The Second Amendment is just a codification of that right. And if you don't fight for it, it'll be taken away just like any other right. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to say, you're a human being. This is for you, no matter what category you chop yourself up in or allow the divisiveness of today's society to pull you apart in. You have a right to defend your life and the people you love. And that's what we all need to fight about and make this thing political poison for anybody that's pro with gun control. Just it needs to kill it. Anytime anybody presents a gun control bill, they need to be looking over their shoulder, worried about the 800-pound gorilla that is the U.S. citizen coming down on their back and crushing their hopes and dreams about being reelected. That's what we all have to do, regardless of political party.
Amen. Amen to that. And yeah, we had, I mean, a lot of people who haven't been to Nebraska don't know much about Nebraska, and I'm okay with that. I think that we're one of the best kept secrets in the union, and I think we should stay that way. So, I mean, there's a reason why we changed our state motto to, or our slogan to, for tourism to, it's not for everyone, because we don't want people coming in here and turning our state into some of those other states that don't have the freedoms we have. But for those of you who weren't there, let me tell you, just the volunteers alone, and not even getting into the guests, the attendees, the volunteers who helped from the various organizations and the instructors that we had on hand and RSOs that we had on hand. We had African Americans in the house. We had female instructors in the house. We had Latina instructor in the house. We had several different folks that came in. Believe it or not, there was even a couple of old white guys with a beard. We didn't have our flannel on, but we had everybody there. Here's the thing: we didn't make it a thing, right? It wasn't a thing. We were just people. We were pro-gun people, pro-2A people. We were Nebraskans, except for the one New Jersey guy and the 3 Kansans that I know about. I think everybody else was from Nebraska, or maybe the Council Bluffs area there in Iowa. We could have had some guests too, but I mean, for the most part, that's just it. When we get together as gun people, we don't care. We don't care who you are. We don't care what you look like. We don't care if you are like the Athena employees that were there, the young ladies that were wearing a dress or a skirt and had a pistol strapped on. We don't care if you're big, tall, small, short. It doesn't matter, right? Young, old, in between, if you got gray in your whiskers or not. None of that matters. What matters is we're all there for the same reason. We're all on the same team. When we walk out of that building, we might not see eye to eye on anything else, but we all are there. It's kind of like being on a football team, right? You don't always get along with all your teammates when you're not on the field, but when you're in formation and you're waiting for that ball to snap, you've got one goal in mind. It's either to gain yards or to stop them, one or the other, right? So we're the same way when we're working on laws and changing the laws for the better here in Nebraska. We're one team. Our focus is to gain yards on the good laws, to shut down the bad ones and keep them out of the end zone. So, and it doesn't matter the rest of it. None of it matters. So we don't care what you look like. We don't care who you worship, where you worship, or if you worship. We don't care who you love. We don't care what your pronouns are. None of that matters to us. We want you. You are welcome. You are one of us. If you are a Nebraskan and you're a firearm owner, or you want to come and find out why people want to be firearm owners, either way, you're welcome at a diversity shoot. If you're considering becoming an NFOA member, please do. And their only recommend, or the only requirement that we have to become a member is that you be a human being who's not prohibited from possessing firearms, and we prefer you be a Nebraskan. If you become a member and you're not from Nebraska, you can be an associate member, but you can't vote for the people who get on the board of directors, like me. But if you do live in Nebraska and you do get, we confirm that, then you get full membership privileges, including voting for the board every 2 years. So you get a say in the people that make the decisions here in the organization. Tony started Diversity Shoot to bring people into the fold of firearm ownership and Second Amendment advocacy. NFOA wants to do the same thing. We want to bring people into the fold of firearm ownership and Second Amendment advocacy, along with doing our civic duties as responsible citizens right here in Nebraska. We want to make sure that we get the laws passed that we want, that we get the laws stopped that we don't want. And with almost 10,000 members strong, but we've got 1.5 million people here in the state. I mean, A lot of you need to be members out there, and a lot of you need to be recruiting with us too. It doesn't cost anything to join. It'll never cost you anything to be an NFOA member. And those of us that volunteer, or those of us that have positions on the board, that's what we get paid, is that nothing that you pay to be a member. We're all volunteers. And I say that a lot, and I don't say it to pat ourselves on the back. I say it because it's important that you understand we're here because we want to be. We do this because we're passionate about it. The same reason that Tony does what he does and helped us get it started here. The same reason that Tony Cannon is a firearms instructor, because his passion is to take what he knows and pass it on, not only to his son, but to everyone else that he can find that's willing to learn. And we want to make owning a gun mainstream, right? We want to make it normal. Across most of Nebraska, it is normal. It's like, you own a gun? Well, yeah. It's weird if you don't own more than one in most of Nebraska. I don't know how it is in Omaha because I haven't spent a lot of time there, but we want to make it normal.
It's a lot of chatter in Omaha. Like, for example, a couple weeks ago, I taught one of my first classes, and kind of got some. It wasn't necessarily negative feedback, but it was kind of like, "Hey, you guys are teaching gun classes at North Omaha. They're gonna teach you how to hold the gun sideways and shoot." I was like, "What?" I was like, but I'm like, okay, but I was able to run with that. I'm like, no, we're not gonna shoot sideways. We're gonna show you how to properly hold it and discharge it. But still, it's simple stuff like that, is where you're able to redirect and teach and make people be confident in what they're doing, So, and even to this day, I'm one of those gun owners now that has like 30, 40, 50 magazines, because I was that one guy, like, why does this guy have a boatload of magazines? But now I understand, when you're in the range and you're shooting, you don't want to be reloaded, you just want to, eject the magazine and keep going,
Right. For the people who see those headlines that, they raided somebody's house and they found 2 firearms and 400 rounds of ammunition. It was an arsenal. I'm like, 2 firearms and 400 rounds of ammunition. That's a range trip. That's an afternoon.
Two firearms and 400 round ammunition is half of what I carry to a diversity shoot.
Right. So that reminds me. Earlier, Pat had asked about firearms for next year. Here's what we do need. We can have the firearms. I mean, if every instructor brings 1 firearm, we're still good to go. What we need is ammo. Yeah. Ammo is the single biggest expense right now for one of these, because as you all know, it is very, very expensive. It's harder to find. That has driven the price up too. And so the donations of the ammo made the event possible. And if we can find an ammo sponsor, Hornady, you are in state. If you're listening, please reach out to us, info@nebraskafirearms.org, and let us know. We would love to get an actual ammo company on board to help sponsor the ammo for these events. In the meantime, members, donors, sponsors, please, we want you. We want to put your name in lights and say, look at this company. They helped make this happen. We couldn't have done it without them. And
now,
so
some of the most common ammo, I mean, because that's what people usually ask, what calibers do you need? 22, 9, 5.56.
Yep, maybe 380.
380 also. But what it is to give someone a basis to go on when they're asking for stuff. And most people have a 22. Getting people behind a 22, awesome. That's an introductory thing, but yes, center fire helps, because that's usually what they're thinking about purchasing. 22 breaks them in. 9mm and other center fire rounds help them out. 380, a lot of people talk about a carry gun. They want something small, something that they can handle. So those are the calibers when you're looking at volunteering. I mean, it's cool if you have a box of 30-06, but we're probably not going to use that in an indoor range. Thanks though, but 22, 9, 380, 5.56.
For sure.
That's
absolutely. And that's just it. So those of you that want to know what can you do, we're not expecting you to go spend $500 on ammo. If you can do 1 box of 50 rounds, we'll take it. If I could get 20 people to kick in 1 box of 50 rounds, I mean, we'd have a whole bunch of shooting on one of those bays covered. There you go. One box of 50 rounds. It's doable. I mean, we want. Here's the thing: we don't want one person to do huge things. We want a whole bunch of people to do one little thing that helps us out, right? Whether it's putting on a diversity shoot or working on lobbying in the unicameral to further our rights as firearm owners, hosting other events, our annual members meeting that's coming up at the end of August, anything that we do, we need one person to do one small thing. I shouldn't say one person. We need each person to do one small thing. We just need a lot of bodies. You don't have to be able to do great things. We just want you to be able to do your thing, and then ask us how your thing can help us. That's all we want to do. But again, I can't stress this enough. For anybody who's listening and you can help pass this along to your friends, your family, your coworkers, we want to grow our membership. We want to grow the 2A membership. We want to grow the firearm owner membership, or even if not a firearm owner, just a firearm shooter membership, right? And that family, we want to grow it bigger. So we don't care about any of the reasons you've been told that it shouldn't be you, that you shouldn't be part of this community. All of that is hooey. It's crap. Okay, I'm here to tell you, we want you to be part of us. Whether it's an actual member of NFOA or just somebody who understands why we care so passionately about these freedoms and what they represent. Because the gun argument, when we complain about the gun laws, it's not about the laws, right? And it's not about the guns. It's about what they represent and what we stand to lose if we can't defend ourselves. And that's just what it comes down to. Like Tony says, self-defense. You are a living, breathing human being. You deserve to be alive, and you deserve to stay that way. And you deserve to pick whatever tool you want to use to stay that way. And nobody should be able to tell you otherwise. Simple as that. So real quick here, I'm gonna let both Tonys kind of wind this down and give any final thoughts, and then of course places that you can be contacted. And then I've got a couple questions that I do want to address that came through earlier in the night that we'll do right before we close up. So Tony Cannon, we'll let you go first here. So Tony Cannon from the One Series. Don't worry about me. I just do this.
Just hashtag
I try to talk. I cannot mouth today. Tony Cannon from the One Security Solutions. Any final thoughts that you have that you didn't get a chance to voice? And then where can people reach out to you?
So basically, the reach me is the1securitysolutions.com, or on my Facebook page, the One Security Solutions, or all social media, the One Security Solutions. So my final thoughts with everything, man, just stay on education. Ask, see something you don't understand, always reach out to one of us to ask, and we'll do the best that we can to answer as many questions as possible and keep everybody educated. Like you said, it's all of our rights to be able to defend ourselves at all times, but just knowing when and how to defend ourselves, and simple things like that.
Absolutely. Very cool. And again, Tony, thank you so much for volunteering your time, your know-how, your expertise, and your network of clients, friends, family, and just helping us make the event what it was. So we really appreciate you. And again, I know that you're getting established as an instructor now. So congratulations on that. Welcome. I shouldn't say welcome. I'm not an instructor, but welcome to the community anyway. And I'm glad to know you.
Most definitely. Excited to be here.
And then we've got Tony Simon, of course, from Diversity Shoot, the OG, like I said earlier, that without you, I wouldn't have even thought to do this. Most of my great ideas aren't mine, just so everybody knows. But I sure didn't want to. Again, I didn't want to steal your thunder. I didn't know that I could do this without you. So I just want to again thank you for being gracious enough to accept our invitation to come out here, get us started, give us your ideas, and then let us run with it, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I was told that from the very beginning when I started this, and I told people, host an event, do what I do. And They were like, dude, you're giving away, the recipe. And I'm like, this fight's got to be bigger than that. Nobody's my competition. What we're doing is growing a community. It's going to take everybody to do it. It's going to take volunteers. It's going to take ranges. There's a lot involved in hosting one of these events, and me telling you, yeah, host an event and invite everybody you know, and just bring people from different races and backgrounds together and go to a range and get food involved and shoot all day. That's the recipe. Go ahead, knock it out. Should be easy. So, yeah, it's a lot involved, and it takes a lot of dedication. And I thank you and your entire board of NFOA. Look, I got it right. To make it happen, because it takes that. It takes people believing in something to try something new. And I'm glad you guys did, and it turned out really well. You met dudes like Tony, up and coming instructor, has his own network. And the next time you have one, there's going to be a new circle of people. Now you stretched it out, and you've grown this circle of people, and you've made them aware of the politics involved. Now it's up to them to do it. Don't think the minute somebody walks in, all of a sudden they become a political activist, because that's not going to happen. It takes time, but you plant that seed. You give them the knowledge. You give them the circle. You allow them to know there's people out there that think like this. You network, and they'll come back to you. And they'll recommend people to you, and it will grow. And that's what this is about. It's about growth. You got to be patient, but we're doing it. And I can't wait to hear about the next diversity shoot and promote it that you guys have out there. My next diversity shoot is a little over a week from now, on the 5th of August in Pennsylvania. So I'm still hosting them. I mean, we're still out of state. I mean, this has grown in 2021. And I feel blessed that I met you guys, all of you. And everybody that attended, thank you for coming out. If you want to find me and the work I do, you can email me at tony@diversityshoot.com. You can find the work we've done at diversityshoot.com. I'm on Facebook at The Second Is For Everyone. I'm also on Twitter, Second for Everyone. And I'm on Instagram at Simon Says Train, because I started out as a firearms trainer. I still do it. But Simon Says Train is my IG page. You want to reach me? Reach me. It's going to take more than you going, hey, can you come to insert state, city here? It takes a range. It takes an organization. You're going to have them reach out to me, because if we're going to do this, you have to be serious about it, not just one or two guys wanting it to happen. All right. So I appreciate it. Thanks again for everybody that came out. Thanks to Nebraska Firearms Owners Association for bringing me out there to host this event. Thank you to the NRAILA, because Kelvin was an awesome dude, and I'm glad I finally met him. And it was just awesome, man. Appreciate everything.
You bet. And very, very, very much the feeling is returned. Thank you for everything. Sandhill's Sweetheart over on the YouTube side says she's bummed she didn't get one last hug from you. So
yeah, next time. There
you go. We'll get you back out here, or else we'll get back east or something. So I don't think that's the one and only time that you and I will be in the same place at the same time, Tony.
Nope.
Either one of you Tonys, actually. So all right, so real quick,
I'm definitely excited. Just keep me posted. I would love to travel and do some things.
Heck yeah. I tell you what, I mean, there's always people looking for more classes, more instructors up around the Norfolk area. So if you guys are like the old TV show Paladin, have gun, will travel, have gun knowledge, will travel. That'd be great. So let's see real quick here over on the Facebook side. Larry had a question. Did Lancaster and Douglas counties go to a referring to the Second Amendment sanctuary county push that happened all across Nebraska? Not yet, but they're the last ones. We are now at 91 out of 93 counties have adopted a resolution to be a 2A sanctuary county. Of course, Douglas and Lancaster, as everybody in Nebraska knows, they'll be always the last two to change things and go in a pro-gun way. So here's what's happened is every one of the 91 counties that has adopted that resolution, it did not happen because of NFOA. We have been cheerleaders. We have been compiling this info and putting it in one place and getting it out to people, but we didn't do it. 91 times in this state, somebody who lives in that county took the initiative. In Nebraska, we say took the bull by the horns and called their county commissioners, called their county sheriff, called their county attorney, and said, hey, we need to get this on the agenda. We need to talk about this. We need to make sure that if some sort of executive fiat, some stroke of a pen turns people into felons overnight, that the sheriff is not going to be involved with enforcing such bogus laws that don't follow the Constitution. And here in Nebraska, it's not just the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's Article 1, Section 1 in our state Constitution that says the same thing. And so 91 times somebody, and most of the time, a lot of somebodies have taken that initiative and done it. It's going to be a lot more initiative and a lot harder challenge, I think, in Lancaster and Douglas counties. I think it's worth the effort. We will do what we can, but there have been some things, the diversity shoot, the annual meeting coming up, that have taken a lot of the focus for our organization and taken a lot of Trish's focus. And so some of you know that Trish has been scheduling some online meetings to discuss the strategy, to talk to the commissioners in various counties. And she will be scheduling those again for Douglas and Lancaster. Hopefully she'll have some more time here in the fall after August 28th, when the annual meeting is over. Then she'll have more bandwidth, more room on her plate for that. That doesn't mean somebody can't get the ball rolling in Douglas and Lancaster counties now. We will help as much as we can, but it can't just be us. So not yet, Larry, but the work's not done. And sometimes we just have to take a breath, right? Stop and take a break and breathe a little bit, and then come back and revisit the situation. So that's what's happening with that. And then Tony Rasmussen had a question. I don't want to change the subject. What do you guys think of our governor candidates that are coming out? One more chance here for me just to pull back the curtain a little bit. We're going to be compiling a list of questions. We reached out earlier in an email to all of our members, and asked what questions people would like to ask the candidates for governor. And Trish is going to go through all those. We will compile them. We will the questions that are similar, we'll catalog those into one question, and then we'll take the top 10 and go from there. Well, actually, I think what she's going to do is she's going to compile all the questions, and then what she's going to do is ask the members to vote for 10. And then the top 10 vote getters will be the questions that we ask the candidates. We're not going to say which ones. We will then invite every governor candidate to sit down. We'll do an interview. We'll record it. We'll ask them the questions. They will have not gotten these questions ahead of time. They won't know what's coming. We'll get their honest answer. And then we will, once that's all done and they're all compiled, we'll be putting all those videos out separately, but we'll put them all out at the same time. And that's probably going to be somewhere between a month and a half and 2 months before the election. So our primary is May 3rd, I believe, next year. The first Tuesday after the first Monday, and I believe that's the 3rd of May. So we'll be dropping those videos sometime in March. So that's our push. We, as a 501c4, just to let everybody know, we cannot endorse a candidate. We cannot say we like this person or that person, not as an organization. We're all human, right? We all have our personal opinions, but we cannot, as representing NFOA, we cannot say whether or not we like a specific candidate. We just can't do it. And so that's because there are laws that govern what a 501c4 nonprofit can do. And electioneering, which is influencing anybody's vote on a specific candidate, that's a big no-no. So we're working on making changes, not changes. We're working on a project that we can help out with that side of things without breaking laws. But we just can't say what we think of the candidates right now. So let's see. All right, we've got there's Tony's email address again. Tony at diversityshoot.com. You can also go to facebook.com/the 2ND is for everyone. And then also over there on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/the1ONE, the one security solutions. Although it's you might want to grab that link out of the chat because it is maybe I copied and pasted it. So that is the way it is spelled there. So make sure that you're using the link and finding,
That's
or just
right.
search the One Security Solutions LLC on Facebook, take you right to it. So again, I just want to thank everybody for watching tonight. I want to thank Tony and Tony for joining us tonight. Again, we want to just keep Trish in our minds, in our thoughts, in our prayers with what's going on. Like I said, it's not her, but she did have some stuff happening that I don't know the details of, and they wouldn't be my details to share. But just send up a prayer if you're a person who does that, for that too, please. All right. So with that, I think we're just going to wrap it up. I think we've got all the comments in that we're going to get. We've got Pat was out there on the YouTube side. We've got Leroy, radio operator in Nebraska, just showed up as a comment. So Leroy, thanks for being out there and watching as well. On Facebook, Shane, and let's see. Well, Tony Cannon's out there too, and Joe, Tony Rasmussen, El Esco, Joe Goebel, Alyssa, Larry, I think Jeff Moeller. So thanks all of you for commenting. Again, make sure that when you're watching these that you catch us live so you can talk to us and we can talk to you and we can interact and make it so much better than a radio program or a TV program. Again, you can help our cause. You can go to nebraskafirearms.org and become a member. It's free to join and it'll always be free. There's 2 red buttons when you log on to that website. The first one says become a member. And then if you watch long enough, that will flip over and say donate now. You are welcome to donate now. We will not beg you for money. We will not contact you and say, if you don't send us $20, that Nebraska is just going to sink into the ocean or something like that. We don't do that. Okay. But we're volunteers here. So your money doesn't go to us. Your money goes to our lobbying and our efforts in the unicameral events like this, education, all that stuff that we do. That's where the money goes. We promise we won't waste it. So feel free to go ahead and donate that if you'd like to. You can go to facebook.com/Nebraska Firearm Owners Association. And you can always email us info@nebraskafirearms.org. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight, sitting down and watching live. Thanks everybody who is watching this on the replay. Please share it. Please like it. Hit the thumbs up or the like button on Facebook or the thumbs up on YouTube. Share the link, please. Leave comments down below, even if you're not in the live chat. Give us some feedback. If you know somebody or you are somebody who was there in whichever capacity, please let us know some feedback. We want to get that. We will be emailing our guests and getting their reviews as well. But we do want to know how everybody felt about it. So again, thanks everybody. Have a great night. You guys rocked it. Thanks for making our first event, first of many, a success, and more details to come once we know when we're going to do it again. Tony, thanks a bunch.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night. Thanks for having me. No problem.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.